Joining me now, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren. It's good to see you, Mr. Ambassador. Appreciate you coming on the program once again. Again, we got that confirmation just within the last half an hour or so from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that they've completed the return of the first of the hostages. We've shown the names. I'm wondering your reaction, first of all, to this first successful exchange and your concerns going forward about getting the release of the rest of the hostages.
Good to be with you, Chris. Thank you for having me on. Just to correct an impression of your last report is that it's sort of like making a comparison between the Palestinian terrorists who are being released and the Israeli hostages that are being released. It's not just Palestinians. These are people who are in prison for terrorists and accessories to terrorism. And the fact that the Palestinians are celebrating them while we on our side are being very, very quiet and solemn about the release of our hostages says a lot about our distant societies. It says a lot about this conflict, frankly. Listen, we cannot help but be overjoyed, relieved for the release of these hostages. Certainly, I know some of these families personally, the Aloni girls. I've written about them, so it's very personal, intensely personal. And of course, we hold out hope for the other nearly 180 hostages are still in. Well, it's altogether will be something like now over 200 hostages will be still in captivity by Hamas in Gaza. But let's not underestimate the difficulty of Israel for this. Israel makes two promises to its peoples. One is to defend the land, and the other is to make sure that should any Israelis fall into enemies' hands, will do the utmost to try to retrieve them. So in order to reach the first goal is we have to continue the war against Hamas. We have 250,000 refugees, internal refugees who cannot return to their homes along the border as long as Hamas continues to threaten them. And Hamas has been absolutely clear that that's exactly what it will do. It will turn around and do this again and again and again. We can't do that. And we will not be able to even maintain our regional deterrence. Enemies like Iran will internalize that they can hit us with impunity, and someone will slap a ceasefire on us. We won't be able to defend ourselves. On the other hand, Israel has to do its utmost to try to return the hostages. And here's a very important point, which I don't think has been stressed enough, that this deal came about only because Israel launched a ground incursion into Gaza, because we put the pressure on Hamas. And that pressure has to increase. After this ceasefire, unless Hamas turns around and says we're going to release more hostages, Israel has offered to extend the ceasefire for 1 day for every 10 hostages released. I think Israel will be prepared to do that. But at the end of the day, I mean, again, I have to be very clear about this. Hamas won't release all the hostages because it knows once it releases all the hostages, Israel will continue the war until Hamas is destroyed. So they'll hold on to some of them.
So what is your realistic expectation? What is your realistic expectation, Mr. Ambassador, that at least the first 4 days will happen, let alone an extension?
I think it's a realistic expectation. Keep in mind that Hamas is a terrorist organization, doesn't negotiate in good faith. It will move the football or move the goalposts, if you will. And we can always expect, we have to be prepared for change. Even the list of people who are set to be released could change. And Hamas could do this because Hamas not only conducts physical terror against the state of Israel, it also conducts emotional terror. It's trying to divide us. It's trying to traumatize us all the time. And Israel has to remain very, very strong. It won't be easy to renew the military operation after those 4 or 5 days. I think the government understands that very well. But again, we have no choice. An ultimate ceasefire means this very simple thing. It means Hamas wins. It means Hamas gets away with mass murder. And it means that Israel won't be able to restore its security in any way. And we have to be able to tell our own population that they can go back to their homes. And we won't be able to do that as long as Hamas remains an active threat against the state of Israel. You know,
Ambassador Michael Oren.
I'm a historian by training, Chris. One last line. I'm a historian by training. I cannot think in all of history a government that had to make the decisions that the Israeli government has to make now. It is without precedent.
We would like to, again, just acknowledge the statement by Benjamin Netanyahu. 13 people who were held hostage for 7 weeks are now free. Tomorrow is another day, and our hopes are with more of them. Ambassador, thank you so much. Stay with us as we